She said it was just a coworker. But when I saw the photos, I realized my entire marriage was built on a lie. My wife, Rachel, seemed to think I was completely in the dark. Maybe she figured I was too trusting, or maybe just too blind to notice the way things were shifting, especially when it came to her relationship with her coworker, Kyle. She acted as if I'd just keep my head down and let things slide while she carried on with whatever this connection was. But what she didn't realize is that I'd been watching. Not obsessively, not snooping, just quietly picking up on the changes. It started subtly. She began coming home late from work more often than usual, always with some vague explanation. Her outfits changed too, more bold, a little more revealing. There was a new confidence in her stride, especially in moments when we were supposed to be close. But that closeness? It had started fading. The hobbies we used to enjoy together fell by the wayside, and our conversations felt more like small talk than real connection. I tried to talk to her. I really did. I brought up how I was feeling, how things between us didn't feel right. But every time she brushed it off, turning the blame back on me. "You're just being paranoid," she'd say. Or worse, "This is your insecurity talking." Like I was the one breaking something that she was quietly dismantling behind the scenes. Eventually, I felt like I was running out of options. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. I wasn't looking for drama. I just needed the truth. From the beginning of our marriage, I'd made one thing crystal clear. Cheating wasn't something I could ever overlook. Over the course of our 10 years together, Rachel had always promised she'd never betray that trust. But words only go so far. Sitting across from the investigator, Jake Morgan, I wasn't sure what to expect. And when he first told me there hadn't been any physical crossing of the line, I felt this wave of relief wash over me. But then he said something that stuck with me. "It's an emotional affair, not a physical one, yet." Turns out, Rachel and Kyle were practically inseparable at work. They'd eat lunch together every single day, always just the two of them. According to Jake's report, they'd often be seen holding hands or sitting close, sometimes sharing quiet smiles that looked anything but professional. He handed me a stack of photos. Her leaning into him, his hand on her back, the two of them wrapped up in each other like nobody else in the world existed. One photo even showed them kissing, nothing dramatic, just intimate. And in that moment, the truth hit harder than I expected. Not because of the kiss, but because of everything that came before it. The moment I saw those photos, something in me snapped. I was seething. Not just hurt, but furious. My blood boiled at the sight of Kyle, this smug little man who thought he could just sneak into my life and take what wasn't his. I'll be honest, there was a part of me, in that raw, emotional moment, that wanted to confront him then and there, to wipe that arrogant look off his face. Turns out, their bond went deeper than just lunches and cozy embraces. According to Jake, the investigator, they'd often stay late at the office, not because of work deadlines but just to be around each other. It was like they were intentionally avoiding their real lives, staying in this little bubble where there were no spouses, no responsibilities, just the two of them. Jake took things a step further than I expected. He managed to get access to Rachel's messages, her emails, texts, private exchanges with Kyle. He was careful to tell me that while it wasn't something I could use in court, not in our state at least, it gave him a clearer picture of what was going on. Divorce laws here don't require proof of adultery, especially for a no-fault filing, which honestly worked in my favor. I wasn't looking to make a legal battle out of this. I just wanted out. I asked Jake if I could see the messages myself. He declined. Said it wasn't ethical and could cause more harm than good. Instead, he gave me a summary of what he found, and man, even that was enough to twist the knife. He told me Rachel never said anything bad about me directly, not even when Kyle tried to paint me as some insecure, clueless husband. She'd shut him down apparently. I guess I should feel grateful for that, but it only made the rest of what he said hurt more. From the tone of their conversations, it was clear that Kyle was slowly grooming her, emotionally manipulating her into believing that what they had wasn't wrong, that it could somehow benefit our marriage. That being with him, even just emotionally, would bring Rachel and me closer, not further apart. He even suggested, and this part floored me, that if she told me openly about their connection, I'd go along with it. That I'd nod and accept it, like some pushover desperate to keep his wife no matter the cost. The fact that he believed that he thought I'd just lie down and take it, that showed me just how little he understood me. But the hardest part, the one that hit the deepest, was realizing that Rachel actually started to buy into it. This wasn't just a guy chasing someone else's wife. This was someone who had wormed his way into her thoughts, her emotions, her sense of what was real and what wasn't. And Rachel, the woman I once knew better than anyone, had started believing his lies. It was heartbreaking. I kept thinking about all the memories we'd built together, the quiet mornings with coffee, the inside jokes, the way she used to reach for my hand under the table at dinner. She used to be my best friend, my lover, my home. But now, it all just felt like it had drifted away without me even noticing the moment it started. Maybe that's just how life goes. Maybe permanence is an illusion we tell ourselves to feel safe. Maybe I held too tightly to some romantic idea of what marriage was supposed to be. Two people facing the world side by side, choosing each other again and again, even on the hard days. But clearly I was the only one still choosing. The next morning I called in sick. I needed space, mentally, emotionally, all of it. Rachel had taken the day off too, which made things more complicated. I sat at the kitchen table trying to figure out what I was going to say, when I heard the garage door open and the sound of her footsteps entering the house. Everything in me tensed, because I knew this was the beginning of the end. I sat there, heart pounding, trying to keep my hands from shaking as I poured 2 glasses of Sauvignon Blanc. My emotions were a storm, anger, anxiety, sadness, all fighting for space in my chest. Still, I forced myself to stay composed, at least on the outside. I didn't want to lose control, not yet. Just a couple minutes later, Rachel walked in. Alone. She tossed her keys on the counter like it was any other day and dropped her purse with that familiar thud. But the second she saw the wine and the way I was looking at her, I saw something shift in her expression, confusion giving way to a deep, rattling fear. She didn't ask what was going on right away. It was like she felt it before I said a word. Her eyes flickered toward mine and her voice, barely above a whisper, cracked as she asked, "What is it?" And that's when I said it. The sentence I never thought I'd have to say out loud. "I don't love you anymore." The words left my mouth like a blade. I saw them hit her. She stumbled back slightly as if they'd knocked the wind out of her. What are you doing?" she asked, completely thrown off, searching my face for some explanation. I didn't answer right away. My mind was somewhere else, somewhere far from that kitchen. I thought about the letters. The ones we used to write to each other on road trips. Like that time we went to Myrtle Beach and stayed in that rundown rental with the creaky floors. We'd sit for hours with those adult coloring books before they were even a trend, dozens of colorful markers laid out on the table like treasures. Over the years, just like us, those markers dried up and faded. We never bought new ones. I think the weight of that memory hit her too. She looked smaller in that moment, defensive, trying to fight off the reality sinking in. "I still love you," she said quickly, like saying it fast enough might make it true. But I wasn't the same man I'd been back then. And she wasn't the same woman. She used to tell me she didn't have time to meet for lunch during the work week. Too many deadlines, too much on her plate. But she always had time for Kyle. They'd go out together regularly, laugh together, have little midday getaways that I only found out about much later. And eventually we stopped doing lunch at all. I started going out with coworkers instead. At first it was just a way to fill the time. But after a while, I actually started to enjoy their company. More than I expected to. Was I reaching? Maybe. But I can't deny it. I felt more connected to near strangers than I did to the woman I married. It wasn't always like this. There was a time Rachel and I couldn't keep our hands off each other. For 5 times a week, sometimes more. I'd come up behind her while she was cooking, and we'd end up skipping dinner altogether. We used to have this inside joke about our jacuzzi, how it was our secret getaway without ever leaving home. Now, it had been over a year since we'd even touched the water. She shot back, "I thought you didn't want to be intimate anymore." That one hit me like a truck. I stared at her, dumbfounded. How had we drifted so far apart that she honestly believed I didn't want her? That I didn't miss her? She looked at me like she was bracing for impact. "So what is this? Are you cheating on me? Have you fallen for someone else?" Her voice cracked with desperation, but there was a sharpness behind it, like she was trying to turn this around on me. "Rachel," I said slowly, "you know exactly where I stand when it comes to cheating. I made it clear from the beginning, and especially on the day we said our vows. That line is not one I would ever cross." But she didn't get it. Or maybe she didn't want to. This wasn't about someone else. This was about us. And how we'd let something beautiful turn into something hollow, while pretending the whole time that everything was fine. "I meant every word of the promise I made to you," I told her, my voice steady, even if my heart was anything but. "I know what your ex-husband put you through, the lies, the betrayal, and I never wanted you to go through that again. But I've lived through my own share of pain too. And right now the best thing we can do is part ways, cleanly, respectfully." She stood there in silence as I laid it all out. "Tomorrow I'd like you to come with me to the bank. We'll split everything down the middle, savings, checking, all of it." We'll need to open separate accounts, cancel joint cards, and update the bills. The house will go too. I've already arranged for a realtor to come by on Wednesday to get things moving. Rachel's face twisted with disbelief. You're rushing this, she said, her voice thick with disappointment. Please, slow down. Don't do this. Her voice cracked. Stop. Just stop. But I had made up my mind. I couldn't pretend anymore. She reached for the one card she thought would make me hesitate. Our intimacy. Kyle said that if we brought the passion back, she began slowly, trying to piece her words together, if we found that spark again, maybe it would fix things. That it could awaken something in us. I looked at her, stunned. So you think the way to fix our marriage is by sleeping with someone else? My voice wasn't raised, but every syllable was razor sharp. Does that even make sense to you? She hesitated, then shifted her tone, trying to find softer ground. He told me you'd consider it, if you knew it would make me happy. And I do want to be happy. I thought we both did. I want you to be happy, Rachel, I said honestly. But not like this. Not at the expense of my dignity. Not by destroying the trust we had. She looked down at her hands, quiet now. Maybe I was so wrapped up in my own world, in Kyle, that I didn't realize I was losing you, she whispered. But now I see it. And I want you. I want us. I want to go back to what we had. I shook my head slowly. It's too late for that. Tears filled her eyes, but there was anger behind them too. So that's it? After everything? After how much I loved you? Do I mean so little to you now that you can't even fight for us? You meant everything to me, I replied. I would have stood up to the world for you. I would have laid down my life if it came to that. But now, after all this, I wouldn't even stop if I saw you in trouble. That's what you've done to me. She lunged forward then, grabbing my arms, pleading. Please don't say that. Don't think like that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her words echoed in the room, desperate and full of regret. And for a second I almost believed her. But then I remembered the humiliation. The sleepless nights. The way I had to sit across from a couples counselor pretending everything was salvageable while she was still sneaking around. The therapist kept saying we were making progress. But all I could think about was Kyle. And how I wanted to destroy what they had the same way they destroyed me. I even suggested she quit her job, hinted that maybe, if she stepped away from that part of her life I might consider coming back. But that was a lie. I never intended to return. I just wanted her to lose something that mattered to her. She refused. Said she wouldn't throw away a career she worked hard for. So I filed for divorce under grounds of infidelity. In our state, that meant she got less in the settlement, not by design, just by consequence. She didn't see it coming. But then again, neither did I. After everything fell apart between Rachel and me, I threw myself into job hunting. I was determined to get back on my feet as quickly as possible. But life had other plans. Out of nowhere I got fired. No warning. No second chance. Just a cold meeting where they pretended to be sympathetic, gave me a couple of backpats and slid a severance check across the desk. $10,000 as if that would soften the blow. Then they walked me out like I was a stranger. That was it. Years of loyalty gone in a blink. At first Lori and I weren't panicking. The economy seemed fine enough on the surface, and we figured I'd land something soon. But the longer I was out of work, the more the cracks in everything around us began to show. Things weren't bouncing back. They were unraveling. Slowly but surely, the security we'd once taken for granted slipped right through our fingers. We had been living what most would call a comfortable life. A cozy house with a manageable mortgage and 2 Cadillacs in the driveway, one of which we were still paying off. The older one, a 5-year-old CTS, was mine. Just a few months before I lost the job, Lori and I had bought another, newer model. In hindsight, the timing couldn't have been worse. And the credit cards? Most of them were maxed out before I even got the pink slip. Groceries, gas bills, it all added up. Every month the budget got tighter, the stress heavier. I tried to keep things light, even hopeful. I'll keep looking, I told Lori. Something better will come along. But maybe for now let's try to take a breath. We could use a break. She didn't take that well. Relax, she snapped. Skylar, it's been nearly a year. A year. How long do you expect me to keep pretending we're okay? I feel like I'm suffocating, like I'm stuck in a cage with no way out. Her words hit hard. I swallowed, trying not to let her see how much it stung. I know, babe, I said softly. I do. And I'm trying. We've come so close to losing the house, the second car. I'm doing everything I can to keep us afloat. I sat down beside her and pulled her gently into my arms, resting my cheek on her head. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know how hard this year's been. She let out a bitter laugh. Yeah. And with Lance gone, it's like we don't even have the option to escape for a weekend. Feels like we're just stuck here in this place that used to feel like home but now feels more like a prison. She looked away, forcing a small dry chuckle that didn't quite reach her eyes. I heard Dee's prison got torn down, she added, almost absently. It was a strange comment but I let it slide. Or at least I tried to. But something about the way she said it made my chest tighten with unease. As far as I knew, Lori had never given me any reason to doubt her loyalty. But lately, there were little things. The way she'd suddenly start dressing up just to hang out with the girls. Her makeup done to perfection, slipping into the kind of dress I hadn't seen her wear in years. One that clung a little too tightly, revealed a little too much. Now, Lori's always prided herself on her independence. She's never been the type to lean on others. So when she started talking about how her friends were treating her to a night out, my gut twisted. That wasn't like her. She didn't take handouts. And the only time I'd seen her accept something like that was when she was dating someone new. I tried to brush it off. Told myself she just needed to blow off some steam, laugh with old friends, feel like herself again. But a voice in the back of my head kept whispering things I didn't want to hear. I sat there trying to drown that voice out. But I couldn't. Eventually, I walked over to the computer and turned it on. My hands hovered above the keyboard, heart racing. I didn't want to invade her privacy. I really didn't. But I needed answers. I needed to know if the woman I'd shared a life with was still on my side, or if she was already gone. The moment Lori walked out that night and I saw the cab pull away from our house, I couldn't sit still. My mind was spiraling and I needed to know where she was headed, needed something solid, some thread to hold on to. I found the number for the local taxi service and called it, my fingers shaking slightly as I hit dial. When the dispatcher answered, I didn't waste a second. Hi, I need to know where a cab that just left my house dropped someone off. I rattled off our address, not even stopping to consider the potential privacy red tape. The man on the other end paused for a second, then asked cautiously, "And who's calling?" That did it. I stood up slowly from the couch, the anger rising in my throat like a wave I couldn't suppress. "Listen," I said, my voice low, deliberate. "You know she's married, don't you? Does that mean anything to you at all?" There was a beat of silence. I almost laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Tell me, do you leave a trail of slime behind you wherever you go, or is that just when you sneak around with other men's wives?" He hesitated, stuck somewhere between standing and backing away, clearly unsure of what to do. The coward couldn't even meet my fury head-on. But before I could say another word, Lori's voice cut through the tension. "Skylar, please don't make a scene," she pleaded, stepping in. "This is Jerry. He's a coworker." I stared at her, my heart pounding. "So this is what our marriage has come to?" I asked quietly, though my voice shook with restrained fire. "I'm supposed to be okay with not knowing where you are half the time? With wondering what you're doing, and with who, the second you're out of sight?" I took a step closer, my voice rising with every word. "Tell me, Lori, was the plan to just spend the evening with him? Was it supposed to end with drinks or something more?" Her eyes flared. "Of course not," she shot back, her tone sharp. I stared at her, really looked at her, the woman who had shared my life for nearly 20 years. And yet, at that moment she felt like a stranger. Later that night, all I wanted was a place to breathe. A hot shower. A quiet corner where the world couldn't find me. So I packed my bag without another word, ignoring her as she called my name from the kitchen. I didn't stop. I couldn't. I tossed my clothes in the trunk, climbed into the car and started driving. I had only made it a mile out when my phone buzzed. I let it ring. Buckled in, hands gripping the wheel, I couldn't bring myself to answer. I didn't have the strength for more hollow apologies or attempts to explain away the things I'd already seen with my own eyes. Eventually, I pulled off the road for the night. A quick shower, a change of clothes, and I found myself in a booth at Denny's, nursing my fourth cup of coffee. That's when it hit me, this flash of clarity that cut through all the noise. The solution was simple. Obvious, really. I had no idea how I hadn't thought of it before. I stepped outside into the morning air, pulled out my phone, and snapped a photo. Then I sat down at a quiet corner table and placed an ad. No drama. Just the first move toward a future I could actually control. 2 days later, I took the day off work. Lori was still trying to reach me, texts, voicemails, all of them unread. I knew she'd be upset once she realized what I was doing, and I didn't blame her for that. But she had made her choices. I was just finally making mine. When she eventually confronted me, her voice was heavy, almost desperate. "Skylar, please," she said. "Just think about what you're doing. And maybe for the first time in months. I already had. I never thought you'd sink so low, I said, trying to keep my voice from breaking under the weight of disappointment. I can understand making a mistake, Lori. But you didn't just make a mistake. You went behind my back and went out with Jerry, on a date. You betrayed me, and worse, you didn't even seem sorry when I confronted you. She stood there, stunned, trying to find words. I was angry, she finally said. I didn't mean for it to turn into something serious. I stared at her. Nothing serious? Lori, you lied to me. You looked me in the eyes and made me believe everything was fine. That's not just a lapse in judgment. That's contempt. And you know what's worse? You didn't even try to make it right. It's clear to me now. You don't love me. And you sure as hell don't respect me. Later, Lori met up with her friend Julie for coffee. She hadn't seen her in months, maybe longer. As she walked into the cafe, Julie greeted her with a warm smile and open arms. Lori, Julie said, standing to hug her. It's so good to see you. It's been too long. Lori gave a small, sad smile. Yeah. I haven't really been going out much lately, she replied, sitting down and wrapping her hands around the warm coffee cup in front of her. Julie tilted her head. What happened to the parties? The old social butterfly I used to know. Lori let out a soft, nostalgic laugh. Those were simpler days. Things are different now. Tighter financially. Emotionally. And dating? Julie asked, her curiosity gently wrapped in concern. Lori hesitated, then took a slow sip of her drink. You know, I really did love him. Skylar. I mean that. But when the bills started piling up and everything felt like it was falling apart, I let myself spiral. I gave in to self-pity. And in that place, I made the worst decision of my life. Julie remained quiet, listening. I convinced myself it was harmless, Lori went on. Just a distraction. Something to escape the pressure. But it wasn't harmless. I lost something. Respect, admiration, even affection. Not just his. My own. I let it fade. She looked up, her voice shaking. If you see him again, Julie, please tell him I said that. That I'm sorry. That I was stupid. Julie reached across the table and touched her hand. Of course, sweetheart. I'll tell him. The rest of their conversation drifted to lighter topics. Recipes, mutual friends, a movie they both wanted to see. They laughed a little, smiled where they could, but the heaviness in Lori's chest never truly lifted. As they parted and Lori slipped into her car, waving goodbye, her face held the same practiced smile she'd worn for years. But once she was out of view, her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, her vision blurred with tears she didn't let fall in front of anyone else. That New Year's Eve, everything came to a head. Skylar discovered the full truth. What began as a cold, tense silence eventually led to a conversation they both knew was unavoidable. He looked her in the eyes and said quietly, I don't know if I can come back from this, Lori. I don't even know where to begin. He allowed her to return home temporarily, not as a sign of forgiveness, but so she'd have time to figure out her next move. Since then, though, he kept his distance. No real conversations, no talks about where they were heading or even whether they were heading anywhere at all. She tried to reach out. Tried to open the door again. But Skylar made one thing clear. He didn't know how to move forward anymore. And neither did she. Deep down, Lori knew she'd blown it. She understood the damage. It wasn't just about cheating, it was about losing something they'd both fought to build. And though there were moments they saw each other, even shared old habits, their meetings became little more than physical echoes of what once was. Eventually, things spun too far out of control to bring back. And that realization hit harder than anything else ever could. I won't try to sugarcoat it. My behavior was selfish. Entirely. And the truth is, I let emotions and insecurities guide me into something I never thought I'd be capable of. Looking back, I see how irrational my mindset was, how warped my view had become. The intimacy in my marriage had faded over time, and nothing we tried seemed to bring it back. We both made efforts, but somehow they always fell short. That emotional and physical disconnect wore me down in ways I didn't fully recognize until it was too late. My self-esteem sank lower and lower, and I started questioning everything, how I looked, how I acted, whether I was too much or not enough. It doesn't excuse anything, but I hope it offers some understanding. The truth is, it all started when I met a stranger online. It wasn't supposed to turn into anything real, just conversation. A distraction. Someone I didn't have to try so hard to impress. But little by little, I let that connection grow. I confided in him, trusted him in ways I hadn't trusted anyone in a long time, and before I knew it, I was in over my head. I didn't plan for it to turn into an affair. But I didn't stop it either. And when I finally saw what I had become, what I was doing to Skylar, to myself, it hit me like a freight train. That moment of clarity was brutal. But maybe it was necessary. Some people think staying together after infidelity shows strength. And maybe it does. But I also know that living under the same roof after something like this makes it hard to truly understand the damage done. The hurt simmers beneath the surface. The conversations get guarded. The air thick with words that go unsaid. If we're going to have any shot at rebuilding what we lost, I have to be honest, not just with Skylar but with myself. That means asking what he needs, what he expects from me now. It means finally putting his emotions above my own. There's something else too. The other woman, the wife of the man I got involved with. She deserves the truth. Neither her husband nor I ever told her what happened. And maybe that silence makes it easier for them to move on. But I don't think it's right. If I was willing to betray my marriage, if I was ready to face those consequences, then I should also be brave enough to let her know the truth. She was betrayed too by both of us. I used to think that honesty in moments like these would only make things worse. But I've come to believe something else. That honesty, even when it's painful, can be the beginning of something better. Can be the first real step toward healing. I ended the affair completely. Severed all contact. That chapter is over and I have no desire to revisit it. What I did shattered the man I loved, and now all I want is a chance, even a small one, to rebuild what I broke. I don't expect forgiveness overnight. I may never earn it fully. But I'm committed to doing the work. I want to be someone Skylar can believe in again. Someone I can believe in again. Because he didn't deserve this. And I won't stop until I've done everything I can to make it right. It's been a little over a year since everything came crashing down. There are still mornings when I wake up and half expect to see Lori beside me, buried under the covers, hair tousled, breathing soft. Habit has a strange way of holding on even when the person is gone. But that space, both in the bed and in my life, has stayed empty. After the dust settled, we tried therapy. Conversations were had, some painful, some healing, but most just left us sitting there in the quiet, unable to find common ground. I think we both came to realize that even though we once built a beautiful life together, we were no longer the same people who started laying the bricks. She cried when I finally told her I was letting go for good. I didn't say it out of spite. I said it because I meant it. I'd forgiven her in the quiet corners of my own heart. Not because she deserved it right away, but because I couldn't keep living inside that wound. Forgiveness, I learned, isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's the only way to set yourself free. We sold the house. She moved to a different city, closer to her sister. I kept the older Cadillac, the one that still smelled like her perfume on the seatbelt. I don't drive it much anymore, but I haven't sold it either. Some things you hold on to, not because you need them, but because they remind you that what you lived through was real. Life now is quieter. Sometimes lonely, sure. But also lighter. I started picking up new routines. Morning walks. Journaling. I even signed up for a woodworking class. There's a kind of peace in shaping something with your hands, something solid, something honest. And love? I don't know yet. I'm not in a rush to find it, but I haven't shut the door either. I think when it comes, it'll be different. Not louder, not grander, just real. A love that shows up, not out of need, but out of choice. If there's one thing I've taken from all of this, it's that people break. And sometimes they don't mean to. Sometimes they're just lost, trying to fill a void with the wrong kind of comfort. But knowing that doesn't mean you have to accept it. You can have compassion and still walk away. So this is where my story ends. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, not even with heartbreak. Just with truth. And a quiet kind of hope for what comes next. Thanks for listening. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Have you ever stayed silent when your heart was breaking? Would you have done the same? And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We've got more stories to tell. Some messy, some healing, all human. See you in the next one.